Okay, so in this lecture, we are gonna talk about the Cauchy sequences. Okay, um, interesting concept, interesting statement, interesting things will be discussed here in this particular lecture. So, Cauchy sequences are kind of really very interesting because they establish a very fine relation with convergent sequences when we talk about the real number system. Good. So, first let us write the statement of Cauchy sequences. So Cauchy sequences says that you know if an is a Cauchy sequence, then for all epsilon greater than 0, there exists some n not belongs to the set of natural numbers such that for all mn greater than n naught, mod of am minus an is less than epsilon. Clear? So you take two elements from a sequence such that the elements are they are basically images of some natural number greater than n naught, and their difference is less than epsilon for all epsilon greater than 0. Okay. Suppose you have a sequence like this. Let's say we place it in number line. So this is a1, a2, so on. Here you have a n naught. Here you have a n naught plus 1. Here you have a n, and here you have a m. Let's say. So as we cross this n naught, then what happens is that if you take any am and an, right, any element of images of natural numbers m and n, the difference will be less than epsilon. If you kind of represent it in a sort of graphical manner, you will find it some sort of like this. Okay. So suppose here you have a m, let's say here you have a n. What happens is the sequence kind of converges like this. Okay. Sort of it seems sort of a damped vibration kind of thing, right? Kind of. Okay. Damped vibration. So this goes like this. Here it comes like this. Okay. Basically converge. Okay, the sequence basically converges. Sequence converges. Clear? Cauchy sequences converges. It is direct from the definition. We will prove it obviously. We will obviously prove that we have fine proofs. We will talk about that in this video itself. This is basically the definition of a convergent sequence, and if you have a sequence which is a Cauchy sequence, then it must satisfy this condition. Clear? Now, what is important about Cauchy sequences is basically about to understand these equivalent statements. So, we write it like this: that the following statements are equivalent. Okay, the following statements are equivalent. First statement says that every convergent sequence is a Cauchy sequence. Okay, every convergent sequence is a Cauchy sequence. Second statement says every Cauchy sequence is bounded. Third one says every Cauchy sequence in R, let's say, is convergent. Okay, so basically, this is kind of a general statement in any metric space, you can say, but the third statement is obviously valid in the real number system. So as we basically talk about the real number system in every aspect of this particular lecture itself, so it is not mandatory for you to write in R, but if you can understand that that is kind of obeyed in R itself. And what happens is that from these statements, from these equivalence of these statements, we get the fourth and the final and the most concluding point, which says that every sequence is convergent, every sequence is convergent if and only if it is a Cauchy sequence. Is it clear? Is it clear? Every convergent sequence is a Cauchy sequence. Every Cauchy sequence is bounded. Every Cauchy sequence in R is convergent, and every sequence is convergent if it is a Cauchy sequence. So basically, this is the result of this first statement and this third statement. And the proof of this statement is really necessary. We will prove it here itself. To prove this, what we basically need to do is that we need to prove the first statement and the third statement. Got it? So to prove the third statement, we need the help of the second statement. So basically what we need to show is basically all these three statements are equivalent, and that will basically conclude the fourth statement. Okay. Okay. Why is this Cauchy sequence is really conceptual and really important as well for sequences. The reason is that if you have any sequence, if you are given any sequence and you are able to prove that it's a Cauchy sequence, then you no need to prove further that it's convergent. It's obviously will be convergent. You can even prove some sequence to be a Cauchy sequence to show that it's bounded. Bounded means it has both an upper bound as well as a lower bound. Okay, so proving one single aspect will help you prove multiple things. Proving a Cauchy sequence gives you the information about its convergence, about it being bounded. I guess it's clear, right? So it's kind of important to understand. Okay. And then we have basically the Cauchy theorems. We have two theorems. Second theorem has two parts as well. Fundamental theorems are there are two basically. So those two theorems basically help us further to kind of expand our knowledge on convergence and limits, solving limits, understanding convergence. So we will come to that later. We might be coming to that in this video itself. Okay. So without any further delay, let's start with the proof of the sequence. I guess you people have already understood the meaning of the sequences. If any sequence exists, say an, if it's converging, then it is a Cauchy sequence. If it is a Cauchy sequence, then it is bounded. And if this, I mean, if this sequence is Cauchy, then it is surely to be convergent. Okay. If convergent, then Cauchy. If Cauchy, then bounded. If Cauchy, then converging. Clear? Okay. So let us start with the proof basically. Okay. So we first prove the first statement. Okay. First statement is very simple to prove. Let's see. Okay. So we assume a statement which is convergent, right? The first statement said that if a sequence is convergent, then it's Cauchy. Okay. So let xn be a converging sequence. Okay. Be a converging sequence. So if it's a converging sequence, then that implies that there exists a limit n tends to infinity of xn, which is equals to, let's say, L. Okay, L is a finite number. Then only this sequence will be converging, right? So you have this. What more can you say about this? That for all epsilon greater than 0, there exists some n naught belonging to the set of naturals, such that for all n greater than n naught, for all n greater than n naught, what happens? Mod of xn minus L will be less than epsilon. Is this clear? Now see, if this is true for some n greater than n naught, this will obviously be true for some m greater than n naught as well, right? So we can say the same thing for all m greater than n naught. We have xm minus L to be less than epsilon. So let this be epsilon over 2. Okay. For all epsilon over 2, let's say. For all epsilon greater than 0, we choose the value of epsilon such that we mark this converging statement using epsilon over 2. Okay. It won't cause any problem, right? Because we are doing this for all epsilon greater than 0. So these two statements are true. I guess you people have understood how, because both m and n are greater than n naught. So this is obviously valid. Okay. Now let us see what happens to the mod of xm minus xn. Now we can write this like this, right? Xm minus L plus L minus xn. So which is by the triangle inequality of modulus function. You can write it like this: xm minus L plus L minus xn. This modulus can be further written as xm minus L plus xn minus L, right? I guess you people know these properties of modulus functions. Mod of a minus b is equals to minus of b mod of minus of b minus a, which is equals to mod of b minus a. Clear? This is what we used here. So from here, what can we say? So basically this equals epsilon over 2. This is epsilon over 2. This is epsilon over 2, right? Which is epsilon. So from here we got that for all m and n greater than n naught, okay, mod of xm minus xn is less than epsilon for all epsilon greater than 0. Thus Cauchy, right? So every converging sequence is a Cauchy sequence. This we proved. I guess it's clear, guys. Now what do we need to show? Now if we are able to show that a Cauchy sequence is bounded, what we do? Let's see. Proving a Cauchy sequence is bounded is kind of easy. Okay. Proving the second statement, let's say. So the second statement. Okay. So proof. What is the proof? Let us write it. Proof. Every Cauchy sequence is bounded. Okay, is bounded. Okay. How can we prove this? So let the sequence be a Cauchy sequence. Be a Cauchy sequence. Clear? Then what do we get from here? Mod of xm minus xn will be less than epsilon for all epsilon greater than 0 and for all m and n greater than n naught. From here what we can say? That mod of xn minus xm is less than epsilon. We just, I already told how is this possible, right? From here what we can say? That xn basically is bounded by, see, this is pretty easy to see this, right? It is between xm plus epsilon and xm minus epsilon, right? Because mod of a minus b less than epsilon, what does this mean? Minus epsilon less than a minus b less than epsilon, which means that b minus epsilon less than a less than b plus epsilon, right? Clear? So this one is true, I guess. People will have understood this, right? Now there's a very little assumption which will give us the final result. See, what does this basically say? Suppose you have, let's say, this is x1, this is x2, x3, x4, so on. Here you have xn naught, here you have xn, here you have xm. So we can basically say that when we cross this xn element, xn naught element, I guess, then what happens? Then we can say that xn is bounded, right? Then we can say that xn is bounded, but only when we have crossed this xn naught element, not before that. So we have no information about this part of the sequence being bounded, right? We have this part of the sequence being bounded, but the previous part we don't know anything about it. So what we do is that we basically take the maximum, we take let m be the maximum of x1, x2, and we go up till xn naught minus 1, right? Xn naught minus 1. Okay, and let's say we take xn naught also. Let's say we take x naught n naught also, and the rest of the part is obviously less than xm plus epsilon, so we take this. Okay, now carefully notice, see, this m is there, which is greater than this m is any element which is greater than each and every element of the sequence, because xm plus epsilon is greater than all this part, and this m is greater than xm plus epsilon as well as all the other elements. So what we can say basically about is that xn is always less than m. Xm is always less than m. Are you getting this? Xm is always less than m. Okay, because xm plus epsilon is less than equals to m, and the rest of the elements also, basically is the same. So xm is always less than m. Let's say less than equal to, nothing to worry about that. But any element of this sequence will be less than equals to m. So what we can say about this, that m is basically the upper bound of any xn, right? So the upper bound case is clear. Now the lower bound case is exactly same. What we do is that, see, from here what we can say, that xn is greater than xm minus epsilon. Okay, so we can say that all these elements are bounded below by xm minus epsilon. What we do, instead of maximum, we choose some small m which is equals to the minimum of the same part, x1 x2 so on, then xm minus epsilon. Okay, and this m will behave as the lower bound of xm. So we can obviously say that this sequence is bounded both below and above by capital M and small m as assumed, and it is a bounded sequence. So Cauchy sequences are going to be bounded sequence. I hope this part is clear, right? Okay. Now the third statement is kind of important. The third one is important. Okay. So carefully notice the proof. So what does the third statement say? Okay. So third proof. What does the third proof say? The third proof says that every Cauchy sequence, is convergent, right? So let's see the proof of this. So let xn be a Cauchy sequence. Okay, let xn be a Cauchy sequence. Achha, if xn be a Cauchy sequence, then that means that xn is bounded above. Xn is bounded above, or let's say xn is bounded. Let's say simply xn is bounded. Okay. Now there's a very important property of bounded sequences, if you remember, that every bounded sequence has a convergent subsequence, right? This, if this might be new to you, but obviously a very fine statement. Okay, every bounded sequence is a has a convergent subsequence. Got it? As a convergent subsequence. What is a subsequence? So subsequence is very pretty easy to understand. If you have a sequence and you choose, certain elements from the sequence and form a new sequence, that one is called a subsequence. For example, let's say, you know, let's say you have this as a sequence x1, x2, x3. You have a sequence xn, and you choose x1, x3, x5. That is all the odd images as a new sequence. Okay, let's say some 2k plus 1, just arbitrary. So this forms a subsequence because every element of this sequence is contained in this. Got it? This is what a subsequence in very lame terms mean, in very simple terms mean. So if ever you get a sequence which is bounded, then it will obviously have a convergent subsequence. Okay. So we assume that this yn is the convergent subsequence of xn. Okay, yn is the convergent subsequence of xn. Achha, if this is the convergent subsequence of xn, then we can obviously assume, or this is a result from it, that n tends to infinity, yn has a limit l, finite number, right? Which further implies what? That for all epsilon greater than 0, there exists some n naught belongs to the set of natural numbers such that, let this be let us this assume to be n1. Let's say no difference, basically assumption. N1 is such that for all n, let's say greater than n1. Okay, for all n greater than n1, we have mod of yn minus l to be less than epsilon. Let's say epsilon over 2. Let's say epsilon over 2. Is this part clear, guys? What we did here? Epsilon over 2. Got it? Acha. Now, see what we can do from here. Okay. Acha, let us do one thing. Let us take acha, we have assumed it to be yn itself, right? Okay, let it be yn. Let this be yn. No, let us do a slight change to it. Let this be ym, so that we can basically deal with the uniqueness of the subsequence. Okay, deal with the uniqueness. So let this be m. Let this be m. Okay, nothing to worry. The statement is still the same. Okay, acha. Now xn minus l. Let's say xn minus l. L, what is l? Well, l was basically the limit which the subsequence had, right? So xn minus l. Now this can be obviously written as xn minus ym plus ym minus l, which is by the triangle inequality, less than xn minus ym plus ym minus l, right? Achha. Now see this ym. Okay, this ym is an element from the sequence itself. This ym is an element from the sequence itself. Okay, and let's say this condition is basically for n greater than this n1. Okay, okay, let us take this again in not itself, not to be changed to n1. Okay, because this is the conventional form of writing this statement. I just took n1 to deal with the uniqueness of this statement. Let that be n naught. Okay, so see now for all m, now see for all n, okay, greater than n naught, this statement is true. Okay, while m is also greater than n naught, as you have here. So see, since this ym is basically an element of the sequence itself where m is greater than n naught, so we can obviously choose this ym as some some x element of the sequence, such that we can basically say that what I mean to say is that this ym is basically equals to some xp where p is still greater than n naught, right? We can obviously do this because this ym is basically an element of the sequence itself. Might be when we talk about the original sequence, then that behaves as this element xp. So we can change this to equal to, let's say, xn minus xp plus ym minus l. Now this is epsilon by 2. Okay, this is less than equals, and this is obviously epsilon by 2. Okay, what is this? Acha, since we assume that this element, I mean this sequence is Cauchy sequence, so since xn is Cauchy, okay, we can say that for all n and m greater than n naught, okay, for all epsilon greater than 0, mod of xn minus, let this be p, minus xp is less than epsilon over 2 from the Cauchy statement, right? So we can say this is also less than epsilon over 2, less than equals to epsilon over 2. Okay, less than, basically not equal to. We remove the equality, we keep this strict. So from here what can we say? That this is equals to epsilon. That means mod of xn minus l is less than epsilon for all epsilon greater than 0 and n greater than n naught, which implies limit n tends to infinity xn is equals to l, which further implies xn is convergent. Right? So what we proved is that if xn is Cauchy, so this implies the sequence xn is Cauchy implies xn is convergent. Okay, so from all the three statements, what if finally conclude? So final conclusion is the fourth statement, right? That is all, or if a sequence is Cauchy, is convergent and converse. Clear? So from here we finally concluded this final and the most important statement, which says that if a sequence is Cauchy, then the sequence is convergent, and if it is convergent, then it will be a Cauchy sequence. All convergent sequences are Cauchy sequences. All Cauchy sequences are convergent sequences, as you know, as long as we are dealing with the real number system. Is this part clear, guys? Okay. So now there are two theorems which are related to this Cauchy statement. Okay, let us discuss the theorems in this lecture, but I'm going to bring the proofs of these theorems in the next lecture. Okay, otherwise this lecture is going to be very lengthy. Okay, so what does the Cauchy's first theorem say? Let's say, so Cauchy's first theorem, Cauchy's first theorem, Cauchy's first theorem say that limit n tends to infinity, xn is equals to L. This implies limit n tends to infinity, summation r equals to 1 to n xr over n is also equals to L. Basically, limit n equals to infinity x1 plus x2 and so on till xn by n is also equals to L. This is the Cauchy's first theorem. Pretty easy to understand, right? Do you need a a problem to understand this? Okay, let's take a problem, simple problem, and this is a very common problem also. Suppose we are given this limit n tends to infinity 1 over root over of n square plus 1 plus 1 over root over n square plus 2, and this summation continues till 1 over root over of n square plus n. Okay. Achha. Now see what is the common intuitive idea which you get from these limits. See, now what we basically do is that, see, we can easily say that since 1 over n square plus 1 tends to 0 root, let's say, as n tends to infinity, we can say this, right? Because the bottom denominator, I mean the denominator infinity, right, as n tends to infinity. But then we can say that the summation will also tend to 0, right? We can say this intuitively, but that's not the case, because see, each of these elements are not exactly equal to 0, they're close to 0. So it is not mandatory for the summation of all these close to 0 elements will eventually become 0. Okay, are you getting my point? They're approximately 0, approximately 0, not exactly equal to 0. So if they were exactly equal to 0, then we can say that the sum would have been 0. They're not exactly 0, they're approx to 0. So it's mandatory for the sum of all these approx to 0 elements to be equal to 0. So what we do is that we should solve such limits, we use the Cauchy theorem. How to do this? Let's say we take a 1 by n outside. So we take 1 by n outside. So we have an n in the numerator, we bring it to the denominator. So 1 over root over of 1 plus 1 over n square plus 1 by root over of 1 plus 2 over n square and so on till 1 by root over of 1 plus n over n square, right? We can write it as 1 over n. Have you people understood what I just did, or I should write the step also? See, we took a 1 by n outside, so we multiplied an n to the numerator, then we brought this n to the denominator, below the denominator, and as we put that n inside the root, that got into its square form, and then we just did simple algebra. Okay, right? I'm writing in this red. So 1 by n, this n goes to here, we bring it to the bottom, by n we put the root over n, it becomes square, n square by n is 1, 1 by n square is, I guess now it's clear. Okay, okay, if you know little bit algebra, you will easily do this. Okay, you can easily understand this. Okay, let me rub this part. So here we have n square. Acha. Now see, if we consider that xn is equals to this 1 by root over of 1 plus 1 by n, then what is its limit? Limit n tends to infinity 1 by root over of 1 plus 1 by n. This is equals to 1 by root over of 1 plus 0 is equals to 1. And what we have according to Cauchy's theorem is limit xn is equals to some L, then the summation over n will also be equal to L. So from here we can say that limit n tends to infinity, this whole part, because we have n here, right? This whole part is also equals to 1. That is an answer. Got it? How we solve this limit? Okay. Achha. So I'm basically ending this lecture here only. I'm having some problems with my laptop. So I would have completed the second theorem also here, but let it be. Already we have covered almost 30 minutes of this lecture. So in the next lecture, we are going to talk about the second theorem. There are two theorems under the second theorem. So we will talk about the second theorem as well as we will talk about the proofs of the first Cauchy sequence and the second Cauchy sequence. Clear? Okay. So meeting you guys in the next lecture.